Everyone, how's it going? My name is Toby. Welcome to Final Assembly at the Figaro shop. Today I wanted to talk to you about misfires and what you can do to fix them. So a misfire on the Figaro, generally it doesn't run right when you've got it. Two ways to tell that you've got one are the car does that stuttering thing, so you put your foot down hard or you go up a hill and it starts to stutter and to judder, or you look at the rev counter, and when you leave it sat on the spot, instead of idling just at 1,000, it sort of coughs and drops like that all the time. These cars are really prone to that happening. You've got the turbocharger, which gets super hot and it tends to damage bits of the engine in here, and especially the rubber parts tend to wear out pretty quickly. So what I thought you might find useful today is fitting ignition leads. Ignition leads on these go a lot of the time. It's a really common thing to fail on these cars. So what are the ignition leads? Basically, the car has to send a spark to the spark plugs, and it does that through the ignition leads. They run from the distributor cap, which sits under there, which you can't see very well, but it looks like one of those, and it's sitting just there. And they run down to the 4 spark plugs, 1, 2, 3, and the 4th one just under there. When they get hot, they start to break down, and what happens is they don't fire properly. So instead of the spark going to the engine, it tends to spark somewhere else. The way to identify this is partly by the way that the car runs, and also on the leads themselves you'll start to get little white marks and little breakdowns and white marks all over the red rocker cover here. So they're pretty simple to change. Basically, the ideal way to do it is just to change them one at a time. You've got one end here and the other end on the distributor cap. If you get them from us, we do these MagnaCore ones. They come in a kit like this. On a budget lead, they probably won't have the numbers written on them, but with these ones they do. Basically, you've got 5 leads, 4 that go to the engine and 1 that goes here to the coil. The ones that go to the engine, like I say, are numbered 1 to 4, but if they're not numbered 1 to 4, you know that 1 is the longest and 4 is the shortest, because 1 has the furthest distance to go over the engine. Now the best way is to change them one at a time. We use pliers like these to change them. Now if you're using a good quality lead, you can just pull the lead off. So these ones that we fitted on here, and these ones are the MagnaCore ones. They're great. They've got a 10-year warranty and they don't tend to wear out. If you're using cheaper ones or budget ones, you've got to be careful as you take them off, because what can happen is you pull them and it all sort of rips apart. So like I said, we use a set of pliers that look like these, and so they grip the end of it, or you can just use some other pliers that have got an end on, or you can just pull them, especially with an old set, but you'll probably damage them. So you pull the end of the lead off. This one's already unclipped, but you just grip it like that with the pliers, pop it off that end, follow it back across the top of the engine. It's held in with these little wire tidies, and then pull it off at the other end under here. It's a bit fiddly, but it's not too bad. And then you'll get the lead off and change one, and then put the other number 1, the new one, back on, and go through them in that order. Do the first 4 and then do the coil one at the end. The only thing that's worth noting, if you haven't got the ones with the numbers on, or your leads are completely fallen apart, or you're starting from scratch and you've had it apart, you need to know roughly where they go. So here's a tip on how to do that. So there's 4 spark plugs. Number 1 is at that end, number 2, number 3, and number 4. Always count them from the cam belt end. That's the cam belt. So if you're starting, if none of this was on, you'd need to know what order you want them to fire in. The distributor, which is here, fitted to the engine, has got the distributor cap on. Now, just for the purpose of this, I'll show you how this works. So if this was on the car now, we could look carefully, and on most distributor caps, definitely the ones we sell anyway, you've got number 1, which has got a number on it. You need to know that the firing order is 1, 3, 4, followed by 2. And then in theory, you could completely start from scratch. We could throw all of these on the floor and we'd be able to put it back together. Now, if you do one at a time, you won't have that problem. But if you do happen to lose them, that's how you put them back together. Or if you get stuck, you can just ring us and one of our guys will talk you through how to do it. We normally recommend changing the distributor cap and the rotor arm and the leads and the spark plugs at the same time for ignition overhaul. But if you do have to change leads on their own, that's how you do it. We think these are the best ones to do it with. But if you need any advice on it, if you've got a running problem and you're not sure if it's this, or if you're stuck putting it back together, all the leads have come apart and you don't know where they go, give us a call. And if you want advice on any other bits of the car, give us a call as well. Thanks guys, see you soon.